Let's begin. Today we are here at Estonian Crypto Association rooms, and here we are to have a talk about the merge of Ethereum. My name is Astra Tikas. I'm one of the board members in Estonian Crypto Association, and we gathered this event again for two reasons: to have a better community to network and to educate ourselves. Because even though I am in Cryptocurrency Association, it doesn't mean that I know everything, because crypto and Web3 and this world is full of information. There is so much to talk about. So thank you everyone for coming, who came here on spot. Thank you everyone who is there watching us online. Thank you for those who are also watching us on YouTube, and probably we will see a lot of times in the future. What else I would like to say is that our content will be up definitely on YouTube channels under Estonian Crypto Association and also under KRÜPTO KLUBI channel. And this event is actually the first event which we are organizing together with KRÜPTO KLUBI, who will be represented by Roman German, or German, how would you like? He will come to sit here and talk about quite after a moment. So I'm really happy that in Estonia community works together. Otherwise it would be a bit of weird, like one is talking there, one is talking there, crowd is like, oh my god, where should I go, where should I belong? So this is what we want to gain, that of course everybody wants to have their own event, but the cool part is that the people can go everywhere and they can be united. And so what Estonian Crypto Association does, we are mostly representing companies, like crypto companies, also blockchain companies, payment solution providers. We are representing them as when it comes to developing regulations, when we talk about exactly educating, bringing more information on the table for the whole society, or for regulators, for public officers, or for also private people, because companies, they have a lot of employees, right? And in the future there will be more different activities by the Estonian Crypto Association, but there mostly will be connected with regulations, AML topics, all about how to make it more safe for companies and for the people, for the clients. So it's not about that we want to represent only companies. The interest is there for the customers, actually. So we are all customers. This is the main goal. We are NGO, and we're looking forward to have, of course, new members. They can be private people as well, but mostly companies. And KRÜPTO KLUBI, of course, Roman will talk about himself, what they are doing. And after that, after Roman will tell us more about the merge of Ethereum, after that we're going to have a discussion panel, which will be a bit more philosophical. And then we will continue with wine and snacks. Yep. So thank you very much once again, and please let's welcome Roman here.
Hello, let me put on a presentation. So, my name is Roman, and I'm here to talk about the Ethereum merge. What it is, what does it mean, what's actually happening. But before I start, a few words about myself. So, I'm the founder of KRÜPTO KLUBI in Estonia. What is KRÜPTO KLUBI? It's basically an organization or a group of people to teach or study about crypto. So we don't have any like OU or liability. We don't have any formal way, but we're actually just a group of people coming together and talking about crypto. So the reason why I decided to start this KRÜPTO KLUBI, so in English what it means basically crypto club. And the reason why I decided to do something like that, it's very basic or simple. So the reason is that in Estonia and also in the whole crypto world, there's lots of scams going on. People are pushing their own agenda. So you don't know which information to trust. You don't know which information is safe to action, what's a scam. So the idea in KRÜPTO KLUBI, it's basically to teach people about cryptocurrencies and then provide free information. So the idea is that it doesn't cost anything, and it's mainly meant for people, not companies. So I think the difference between KRÜPTO KLUBI and the Crypto Association, it's that Crypto Association is more geared towards companies. So I think this is like every person talking about crypto, they always mention when's the first time that they actually got into crypto. So I have to say this as well. It was back in 2012. I was working in one of Estonia's biggest telecom companies called EMT. It's Telia right now. So back then I took 25 euros out of my salary and I started buying Bitcoin for 25 euros every month. So one Bitcoin was about 7 or 8 euros back then. And everything was going fine until a few years later, in 2014, my Bitcoins were stolen from me. So I had 27 Bitcoins that I didn't get back. So that was my first contact with crypto. After that, I joined the YOLO group in 2017. And what YOLO group does, basically it's a cryptocurrency gambling company. So basically, I was a product owner. We built bitcasino.io, which is one of the biggest crypto gambling online casinos in the world. And later on, I became CPO, Chief Product Officer in the company. So when I joined, we had about 60 people. When I left in the summer, the company was about 800 or so people. And one of the best decisions I did back then was I made a deal that 1/3 of my salary, I got it in Bitcoins. So if you have this option wherever you work, take it. Yeah. But let's get to the actual topic now. And I want to say also that whenever you guys have any questions, just ask them. Maybe I will reply right away if I can. If we're getting to this part, then I will say that, hey, we're gonna get to it.
So I have a question. Can I ask now?
Sure, go ahead.
You said 27 Bitcoins were stolen. It's in those days it's hard even now to enter somebody's wallet, but in those days it was almost impossible. So stolen means you lost the.
Yeah. So what happened was that I didn't keep the Bitcoins personally, but I kept it on a crypto exchange called MTGOX, and this exchange was hacked, and over 1 million Bitcoins were stolen.
Wow. Okay.
So we're not going to talk about this today, but basically this is one of the cornerstones of crypto security, that you should actually know who controls your crypto. So if you keep your crypto in a crypto exchange, then actually they own the private keys and they are in control of it. Somebody hacks them, you lose your money. So that's, yeah. More questions?
Did you lose any money on BTCE exchange?
No. So going back to the merge, it's very simple, but to understand it, it might be a bit complex. So in its simplest way, what the merge is, it's changing the consensus mechanism of the Ethereum blockchain from proof of work to proof of stake. So it's very simple. You can put it into one sentence, but to actually understand what it means, I think that's quite complex. So I pushed the wrong button. Let's try it again. So there's some memes there. So basically, you might have heard, if you're in the crypto industry, you might have heard or seen memes about the Ethereum Foundation or the Ethereum blockchain taking a long time on actually going live with the merge or Ethereum 2.0. So yeah, in this picture you can see Matt Damon saying that Ethereum 2.0 will be launched soon, and he's saying it like until he's old. And we have this famous picture with Vitalik, the co-founder and inventor and currently the chief scientist of the Ethereum Foundation. He basically saying there that Ethereum 2.0 now has finally shipped. The idea of it being that it will take so long time that we don't know actually when it's going to happen. And I tried to research it a little bit about that before creating this presentation, like how many times did they say that okay, it's going to happen now, and how many times it was postponed. And the best answer I got was 7 times, that it has been postponed 7 times. I don't know if it's like the final truth, but it's been postponed a lot. And the reason why it's being postponed a lot is that it's actually quite complex. So let's first try to understand what's a consensus mechanism before we understand what does it mean to change from one consensus mechanism to another one. So what's a consensus mechanism? It's basically just a method of coming to an agreement. So for example, if you keep your money in a bank, in a traditional banking system, you don't have to worry about it because you trust the bank, you trust your payment provider, and they will tell you, what's real for you. But if you are in a network like a crypto blockchain, like Ethereum blockchain, where there are like thousands of network participants and there isn't any central body to trust or nobody to trust, then you need a methodology, like how to agree what's the truth for the network. So that's the consensus mechanism, is just the way how you can achieve this truth. So yeah, there are 2 important aspects there. Whatever this agreement is, all the parties have to trust it. Everybody has to be able to say that yes, that is the truth. I agree with you. Or if somebody is lying, the rest of the network then can say that hey, actually this is not the truth. You're lying. And it has to be secure, meaning that nobody can falsify data. But so the question might be, if you don't know anything about blockchain, what is there actually that you want to agree on the blockchain or on Ethereum? First, are the transactions real? If, for example, I am taking some money and I'm saying I'm sending 100 Ethereum to Astra, is this money real? Do I actually have the 100 Ethereum that I claim to have? Or maybe I never had them. Yeah, maybe I never had it. Maybe I just spent it. I just bought a Lamborghini, but now I wanted to use the same money to buy a Ferrari. So how do I know that this is? I didn't spend the money already. Yeah, did the sender have the money that they claim to have? And lastly, like in the Ethereum network, like at the moment with the old consensus mechanism with the proof of work, the miners, or like one miner every 13.4 seconds, they get all the transaction fees that the network is having, and they get the block rewards. So this consensus mechanism basically decides who will the miner be, because it's only one miner out of tens of thousands of miners around the world. So that's what the consensus mechanism decides, if you try to simplify it. Okay, now let's talk about how this consensus works at the moment with proof of work. So for that, I will show you guys the website, which is, so that's the website basically. And what you see here is a visualization of all the transactions happening on the Ethereum blockchain, but also you can see Bitcoin blockchain here. So basically, this is a visualization for you to easily try to visualize and understand what's happening in the Ethereum, in the blockchain. So I try to explain. So you have these people here. So each person is a real transaction in the Ethereum blockchain that's happening right this second. So the bigger the person, the bigger the transaction. And these buses here, so these are the blocks in the Ethereum blockchain. So as you can see, there are more people than fit into the every next bus. This means that there's more transactions happening in the network than actually the blockchain of Ethereum allows for. So there's lots of people waiting in line, and then there is a huge amount of people here going down, 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 down. And these are the people or the transactions that somebody wants to do, but the fee for the transaction is so low that it's not being added to the blockchain. So if we try to explain using this concept as like what do the miners do in the current proof of work blockchain. So basically the miner is a person in this visualization who decides who gets on the bus and who doesn't get on the bus. So let's say you have a next empty bus here. This is like a new block in the blockchain. So the miner then decides who are the people who I will take on the bus. So who are the next 30 or so transactions that go into the next block. And since there are more transactions than actually fit to the next block, what they do is they just take the people who pay the highest fee. So they take basically the transactions that make them the most money, because in the end it is the miner who gets basically the transaction fees, or in this case like who gets the ticket price of the bus. So this is happening 24/7, always in the blockchain. So yeah, so in addition, the miners, or let's say the bus drivers in this sense, they also have a deal with the city government. So in addition to getting money from the guys doing the transactions, they also get a bit of money from the city government for every bus that they take to the next place. So meaning this is called the block reward. So they get some money for every block. But basically, what are the miners doing when they are deciding who gets here? So basically, they are looking at the transactions that are in the mempool. So this is the mempool. This is like the list of all the transactions. They're looking at the transactions. They're sorting it by the biggest transaction size, and then let's say they take top 30, and then they will look through like, does this person actually have the funds that they are saying that they had, and they can track the money to the previous transaction, then the previous, and so on, to the very beginning of whenever this Ethereum was created. So that's what's happening in the Ethereum blockchain right this moment. So here you can see also Bitcoin, and this works exactly the same at the moment. The only difference is that you can see the buses are bigger, meaning the blocks are bigger. You can have more people or more transactions inside the block, but also you can see that the buses go out more infrequently. So basically in Bitcoin, every 10 minutes the transactions go into the block. So if you compare them, then in Ethereum it's every 13.4 seconds, but the difference is that inside an Ethereum block you don't, I think the theoretical maximum is 72 transactions, but in reality it's about 30 transactions that get into each block. In Bitcoin the theoretical maximum is 2,700. So overall in Ethereum the total transactions per second it's faster. The throughput is bigger. So any questions about this bus and stuff? Okay, if no questions, then now let's compare this proof of work a little bit to proof of stake. So yeah, on one column here I have what's Ethereum like at the moment with proof of work, like before the merge, and on this side it's like what's it like after the merge with proof of stake. So basically with proof of work you need physical hardware to validate these transactions. So in this visualization with the buses, so basically the bus drivers or the miners, they need equipment, basically specialized computer hardware to look through these transactions. With proof of stake, this physical hardware is not needed anymore, and this is one of the big benefits. This is why they say that proof of stake will use about 99.9% less energy than proof of work did. Basically because the network's consensus mechanism is swapping out all the hardware that you needed to make these decisions. They will get rid of all of that, and then there's going to be a new system. So the new system basically is that you have to, instead of mining, you have to stake Ethereum. And what does it practically mean is that if you have some Ethereum, so the minimum is 32 Ethereum. If you have 32 Ethereum, for example, you will stake it. But what this does is that you will lock it into something called a validator. And now the mechanism or the Ethereum network, they will choose on random which will be the next validator that will look through all of the transactions that are happening in the network. So instead of physical machines doing calculations, it will be chosen on random, like a random validator will be set, and the validator that was chosen, they will get all the rewards that all the transaction fees, basically the gas fees. So in proof of work, mining a block is determined by computational power, meaning that the more you have these machines that are doing mining, the more there is likelihood that one of your mining machines actually was selected, or basically wasn't selected, but was the first one that verified all the transactions and also calculated an answer to one mathematical formula. So this is what's with Ethereum at the moment, but when we have proof of stake, then yeah, as I already said, whoever is the lucky person who gets the gas fees or transaction fees, this is chosen randomly. So it goes to one of the validators in the world, basically. So that's the difference. Any questions here?
Yeah.
Yes?
You mentioned that 32 ETH are minimum to stake, which is roughly around 50k. What's the return?
What's the return on staking? I think maybe I'm mistaken, but perhaps it's like about 4% at the moment, and it can be everywhere from 2% the minimum, and I've forgotten the upper limit, like 25, 30 something. So it depends, the percentage depends on the people who are doing the staking. So you can actually already do the staking at the moment, so you don't have to wait for the merge to happen. So you can do the staking already now, but what you can't do is if you take this 32 Ethereum, you stake them. So basically what happens is then you lock them and you won't be able to get them back before, you won't get them back even after the merge. There is like another update coming for the Ethereum blockchain. It's called the Shanghai upgrade. So after this Shanghai upgrade, you will get the ability to actually take out your Ethereum. So this is scheduled to happen like in 2023. So basically, if you want, you can start staking your Ethereum right now, but you have to be ready that you can't get the money back like before a year or so.
But the interest is accumulating.
The interest is, yes,
It's not withdrawable, but it's accumulating.
I think so, yes. I'm not personally doing any staking at the moment, but I'm considering doing it. So after the merge, what I'm personally considering doing is there's a possibility to also stake when you have less Ethereum. So the safest way that I know of is it's something called the rocket pool. I don't know if anybody has heard about it. So basically you can take 16 Ethereum, you can have like half of it, and then you can still do the staking. So how it kind of works is it pairs your 16 Ethereum up with somebody else's 16 Ethereum. So in total, you and the other person, they will have staked 32 Ethereum, right? And then there is the person running this rocket pool validator. So they get they get part of the fees from your 16 Ethereum. So if you would run your own validator, you would get all the fees. But if you're using this rocket pool, you're basically giving some fees to the guys who are helping you out. Yeah. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Any more questions?
Will you share this presentation later with anybody who wants?
Yes, yeah. And also I think we will share the video of this on Crypto Association YouTube channel and also in KRÜPTO KLUBI YouTube channel. So why did the Ethereum Foundation choose proof of stake? So one of the main reasons is that it's green, or at least greener. So they say that it uses about 0.01% of the energy that currently Ethereum is using. So that's, I think, one of the main reasons. What they also say is that it's more decentralized. So what does it mean? How can it be more decentralized? So basically, as a hobby, so since I'm teaching people about cryptocurrencies, before I went and taught people about mining, I thought, okay, I have to try it out, like how does mining actually work? And I have some crypto mining machines. So I have like an Ethereum mining rig, I have a few Bitcoin mining rigs. So what's happening when you mine Ethereum is that I have, let's say, a mining rig. There's like 8 graphic cards there, and these graphic cards, they're doing these calculations. But actually these 8 graphic cards, it's basically nothing when you compare it to the rest of the Ethereum, like the machines that are mining Ethereum, like the total network. So it's basically less than 0.00000 something %. So it's a drop in the ocean. So this means that I actually can't, my machine, if I want to mine some Ethereum, it might be that it's mining Ethereum for like 3 years before it actually mines anything, because only one person or one miner per every block receives this block reward and the transaction fees. So to get over this, it's kind of stupid that you do something for 3 years and maybe you don't get paid anything, but you have to pay for the electricity to keep stuff running. So this is kind of stupid. And to get over this, what has been invented is like mining pools. So what this means is that I take my mining rig, you take yours, she takes hers, and all the miners around the world, they kind of virtually pool their mining rigs together. So then, like virtually, it's like one huge miner that has more mining power. So what happens then is that whenever this, let's say there's like 10,000 miners virtually pooled together. So in this mining pool, basically, whenever one of these 10,000 mining rigs, if they happen to be the lucky mining rig that actually receives the next block reward, then this amount will be divided between everybody. So basically, if you put 1% of the total hash power, or the total calculation power of the network of this mining pool, you will get 1% of the rewards, and it's going to be divided. So as a result, you will have like you will have kind of cash flow coming in every few minutes, every day. So you have predictable cash flow. But the minus is that it's more centralized. That actually there are a few big mining pools around the world that control most of this mining power. And if they want it, so there's been a situation with Bitcoin where the one mining pool achieved more than 50% of the network's hash rate, which means that theoretically they could have attacked the network. So for this not to happen, then once it achieved this 50%, then they said, hey guys, whoever is nice enough, please don't use this mining pool again, go to some other mining pool, and the percentages went okay. But basically there is centralization with proof of work via these mining pools. But I would also kind of counter that is proof of stake really more decentralized? I honestly think that you can't say that 100%. So basically what happens with proof of stake is that the more money you have, the more power you will have in the network, right? So if you are Elon Musk, for example, you have the most money in the world, you can basically buy up all the Ethereum, and if you are rich enough and you could get more than 50% of the Ethereum, you would control whatever the network does. So is this a theoretical possibility? Yes and no, because with Ethereum, it's most likely theoretical. If somebody would try to do it, the price of Ethereum would go so high they wouldn't have enough money to actually go through. But this has happened with other blockchains in the past. So in 2016, so there was a guy called Justin Sun. Maybe you know he's the founder of the Tron Foundation. Has anybody heard of cryptocurrency called Tron? Yeah. So what he did was he wanted to buy one Reddit clone called Steemit, and I think it still exists. So what he did, so this was a cryptocurrency, basically crypto-based product which had its own proof of stake network, and he wanted to buy it out of these guys. He offered some money, they didn't want to buy, they didn't want to sell, so the deal kind of fell through. But eventually what he ended up doing was that he had lots of friends in high places. So he had the owner of Binance was his friend, the owner of some other crypto exchanges were his friends. So what he did, he actually bought some Steemit tokens himself, but he didn't have enough to have like 51%. He had like maybe 10% or something. So he went to Binance and said, hey guys, can you loan me these coins for like a few weeks? And then he went to another exchange, Huobi, and they said, hey, can you lend me some Steemit coins as well? And he actually borrowed together so much Steemit tokens that he achieved more than 51% of the network power. So as a result, he basically was the king of this blockchain. He could do whatever he wanted to do. And then the result was that basically, I wouldn't say the system was abandoned, but the people originally behind Steemit, they didn't trust the blockchain anymore, and they moved away from that. So basically, on one side, Justin Sun, he kind of achieved what he wanted to, but actually he lost the community that was behind this project. So in reality, he didn't get what he wanted. He just got the tokens, but the tokens lost value once he got them because nobody trusted the tokens anymore. So there is a way how to get around this. Yeah.
Do you have any idea where the community went for Steam?
I don't know actually, because I know the site is still up and running. I don't know if they did a clone or something, or if they just went away and did something else. I'm not sure. Maybe somebody else knows.
Or maybe there's an equivalent of Steam that everybody.
I haven't heard, but perhaps.
Yeah, Steam is just kind of, it still exists, and it still actually has very, when Alexa was around, a very powerful Alexa ranking. It was in the top 10,000. I haven't checked it though, and it's been several months, but probably similar. And I don't know what happened to the, I think the other people just went to other parts of crypto.
Do you think there's a potential gap in the niche for developers to work on that?
If you want the idea, I think if you do it well enough, there's definitely a gap. So, yeah.
Is there any technical, let's say, limitation for decentralization on the any chain?
Technical limitation for.
Yes, sir. If someone buys out, as you said, like Elon Musk, for example, so is there any at least instrument to prevent that?
I think no, there isn't like any limit that will be enforced. So the limit will be basically economical limit. So you're Elon Musk, you have 100 billion of cash, but once you start buying up the tokens, the Ethereum, then the price of Ethereum will go up, right? Because the more you try to acquire, the higher the price will be. Nobody wants to sell, or if they say, okay, this guy wants to buy a lot, I won't be selling as cheap as the price is at the moment. So idea is that they won't. So there isn't any economical benefit for you doing it. But that's when we talk about Ethereum. But if we would go and look at other cryptocurrencies that exist, so there are cryptocurrencies that maybe the total market cap is like 10,000 euros. So probably you could quite easily buy enough tokens to get the majority in this blockchain, and then you could basically falsify the transactions happening in the network.
In Ethereum, isn't it because of also the fact that the pool is always expanding? So even if you are reaching this 51%, the pool would be expanding, which means
You mean the total amount of Ethereum?
yes, the pool is always expanding.
So this is kind of yes and no. New Ethereum at the moment it's being created all the time, but actually what they're saying is that once we go over to proof of stake, the merge, then actually every time we make, already now, every time you make an Ethereum transaction, so you will have some gas fees or transaction fees. Let's say it's like $2 per transaction. So then this is divided into two. One part of the transaction fees goes to the miners, and in the future it goes to these validators. But one part of the money, the transaction fees, it's burned, meaning it's destroyed. And what they're saying is that once the merge happens, so much money will be burned that actually the total amount of Ethereum that's in existence, it starts to go down, meaning it will become a deflationary currency. So on one side you're right that new Ethereum is being created, but on the other side more will be burned. So the total amount will be less.
Will it be actually good for like Ethereum as a system, because it's not just like a currency like Bitcoin, and they don't actually have any negative consequences?
It might have, yeah, it might have consequences that we don't foresee, but I think at the moment nobody thinks that there will be negative consequences that are big enough that would say that they shouldn't do it. Yeah. What's good or maybe bad with Ethereum is also that in the past the Ethereum Foundation, they have several times when they don't like how things are going, they will introduce a new change into the blockchain, and then they will change the rules a bit. So they're basically actively looking at how things are going and maybe making something better. With Bitcoin, if you compare it to Ethereum, there are some rules, and basically the rules haven't changed. So if it's good or if it's bad, it doesn't matter, it stays like that. Ethereum guys, they're like more, let's see what happens, and if it doesn't go as we planned, we will change it.
And what about Ethereum Classic, guys?
Ethereum Classic, yes. Ethereum Classic is it's a fork of Ethereum. Basically, it happened already a few years ago, I think. And I think at this point, the only reason why we might talk about it is that the people mining Ethereum at the moment, so once the merge happens, then they don't have anything to mine. So they probably want to find another blockchain where they can still continue mining. So one example might be this Ethereum Classic, another example might be like Raven coin or something, and then there is some guys who are talking about whenever the merge happens, that from that point they will fork Ethereum so that they will create a new blockchain, something like Ethereum Classic 2 or whatever. I don't know what they want to name it, but yeah. So, and proof of stake, another reason why it's important, why Ethereum Foundation chose it, is it has better scalability down the line. So one of the reasons why this Ethereum merge has taken so long time and it's been postponed 7 times is that when they first wanted to do it, actually it meant more different things than it does now. So one of the things it used to include was sharding, and sharding was a way how to basically, at the moment you have one blockchain for Ethereum, but then you would have basically a parallel would be you would have 64 different blockchains, meaning you would have 64 different times more space in this in Ethereum blockchain. This would mean that the transactions would basically for you happen faster, the transaction costs would be lower, and so on. But in reality, they took this out from the merge. So this will happen later in next year as well. So what they did with the merge, the changes that they did, they are introducing this scalability possibilities for this sharding. Okay, why is it called the merge? Because something is merging with something else, basically. And there are two things. The next slide for you to understand. So, this is a roadmap I stole from the Ethereum Foundation's website. It's quite complex, but I will explain it in a simple way. So, this point here, when all the different colors merge into this green arrow, so this is the merge, like this is the merge. So what is merging is like everything that existed before the merge. So there's two different things here. Something that basically the current Ethereum blockchain, so they call it the execution layer. Basically, it holds all the Ethereum historic state. What does it mean? It holds all the transactions that ever happened from the beginning of Ethereum until now. So it has all of these transactions. And now the second thing that's being merged is the consensus layer. So this is something called the beacon chain, and this was actually already started up in 1st of December 2020. So it's been here almost 2 years. It's actually basically worked all that time. It's been live, but now what happens during this merge is they will keep this beacon chain basically as the main Bitcoin consensus mechanism, but they will take all of this historic data, they will take all the transactions, and they will basically put them into the beacon chain. So result will be that you will have one Ethereum blockchain which will use the proof of stake consensus mechanism that's already in the beacon chain, and it will have the historic transactions. So that's why you call it the merge, because two different blockchains are merging into one. One that's using proof of stake but doesn't have any transaction history, and the other that has all the transaction history. It stopped working. Okay, any questions before we go forward?
You indicated there from 10 to 20, so we don't know exactly, but we know exactly the block where the merge is going to happen.
Yeah, so we know when it's going to happen. It's going to be executed at basically they look at the hash rate, or what is it? No, they look at the difficulty of the network. So basically they look at the total difficulty of all the Ethereum blocks from the past, and once it gets to some set amount, then this merge will happen. So since so they don't know exactly that, you know, it's Monday 6:30 or something, so they just know the total difficulty that will be needed, and then they can just kind of estimate when it's going to happen, but we don't know for sure. So will transactions be faster once it's happening? What do you guys think?
Since it's staking and not mining, I personally think it could be faster.
Okay, let's see the answer. Short answer is no, it will not be faster. But there is a longer answer, meaning that it's going to be a little bit faster. So what does it mean, a little bit faster? So at the moment, the block time for Ethereum is 13.4 seconds. What this means is that all the transactions happening in the network, every 13.4 seconds, they are merged together into one block, and then this block is validated by the miners, basically. So this time will decrease a little bit to 12 seconds, so it's going to be about 10% faster. Yeah, not a lot, but a little bit. So this 13.4 seconds, this is the average block time at the moment. So it's not set in stone, it kind of varies a little bit. Next question. Will gas fees reduce after the merge? Meaning, will the transaction fees be lower? Who thinks yes? Some people. Who thinks no? Okay, 50-50. correct answer, no, but longer answer is yes, a little bit. They're gonna be lower. So, and this comes from the same thing, the speed that we talked about. So, basically, you still have the same amount of time per day, right? And the blocks with the transactions, they are the same size, but now you can suddenly fit more blocks into the same amount of time. So, basically, in every hour, you will get about 30 more blocks. And if the transaction amount will stay the same, it means that per year you will have about 250,000 more blocks. Meaning that if on average you can put, let's say, 20 to 30 transactions into a block, you will have basically the throughput of the network will increase, but not a lot, about 10%. Next question. Do you need to do something if you have your Ethereum already somewhere? What do you guys think? Has anybody done anything? Has anybody done anything with their Ethereum to prepare for the merge? Yes. What did you do?
I stake it on my friend's stake-wise, stake pool.
Okay. And why do you think it helps?
Make money.
Okay. Okay. You just wanted to make money.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else did something with their Ethereum?
In search for airdrop.
Searching for an airdrop?
I had some Ethereum that I was going to stake into the beacon chain, but I didn't in case there's a proof of work fork. I wanted to get at least a little bit of that proof of work fork that may happen.
Okay. So you hope that there's going to be a fork, and then in addition to the Ethereum, you will have some other
Yeah, I'll
free
sell it
basic.
straight away by Ethereum.
Yeah, good idea.
Where will you sell it?
Whoever will buy it from me.
Here.
There'll be some exchanges that are supporting it.
There are a few miners in that, at least for now.
Yeah, it will take a while, I imagine. Maybe a day or two. But where there's money to be made, the exchanges will jump at it if there's volume.
Yeah. So the answer to this question is that you don't need to do anything to prepare for it. It's like a short answer, but longer answer is that yes, you don't need to do anything, but you can. So as Chris just said, if you think there's going to be a fork, you might want to think, where are you keeping your Ethereum? So some exchanges have said that if the fork happens, so nobody knows if it does, but some of the exchanges have said that if it happens, they won't be supporting it, meaning that let's say you have 100 Ethereum in an exchange, then you won't be getting the fork of Ethereum that will be created. So basically, you won't be getting these free extra 100 tokens. So to prepare for that, if the fork really happens, what you should do is you should transfer the money out of these exchanges to your own wallet, to a non-custodial wallet, where you where you control the money. So if that happens, so basically, I think the best is to Google as well, like which wallets support it and which ones don't. And for example, if you're using Ledger as a hardware wallet, send your money to the Ledger, and once this fork happens, if it happens, then you can be quite sure that you will receive the new crypto tokens that will be created. Yeah. So, next question. Is it safe to keep your Ethereum wherever you are holding it during the merge? Any thoughts?
As long as you do transactions during the merge, yes.
As long as you're not doing transactions, you're saying. Okay. Any other thoughts? I think
If it's safe now, then it will be safe then.
exactly. And the way they are doing the merge is that there won't be any downtime to the network. So hopefully you can also do transactions during that time. But yes, you already answered it. If it's safe now, it's going to be safe then. If it's not safe now, then it's not going to be safe then as well. So basically, it depends on your current security. If you have the crypto in exchange somewhere, but your password and username is like written on your wall and everybody can see it, it's not safe. Yeah. Question: can you start earning Ethereum we are staking after the merge. We discussed this a little bit. So basically, answer is yes, but longer answer is it has already been possible for some time. But doesn't matter if you start doing it today or after the merge. You have to take into account that your funds will be frozen. Basically, you can't get the money back before this Shanghai update to the Ethereum network. So they think it's going to be 2023, but looking at all these memes about guys postponing Ethereum 2.0 for 7 times, so maybe it's going to be 2024 or 2025, so you just have to take this into account. Can something go wrong? Yeah.
You never know.
You never know. Okay, that's the right answer. Short answer, hopefully not, because it's been tested a lot, but at every test that they made in the test network, in the beginning, more big stuff went wrong, and then in the end, basically they said everything went fine, but even if everything went fine, still small things happened that went wrong, but they were not kind of paramount to the change itself. So hopefully nothing won't go wrong, but small things might, and most likely it's not gonna matter to you. You still have your money, you still will have access to it. Was there something else? Yes. What will happen with the Ethereum price once it happens? Yeah, Chris, you have an opinion on that?
I have a few.
You have a few opinions.
The first one is that we're moving to proof of stake, and the two biggest networks in blockchain are Bitcoin and Ethereum by far, right? And to mine a Bitcoin or to mine an Ethereum, a lot of money has to be spent on electricity to do so. That really gives you the value that the money's been spent on producing it. Now everything else below us, next to all the stable coins pretty much, and then you've got other layer ones that are proof of stake, mostly proof of stake now. And they're worth 10% of the market cap of Bitcoin and Ethereum right now. So my worry is that we move to proof of stake and suddenly people don't like institutions, corporate, all big money men don't like proof of stake, and they've decided they'd rather take all their money out and chuck it into something into Bitcoin that costs money to mine.
Why do you think the institutions might not like proof of stake?
It's just an argument that it could happen, because this hasn't ever happened before, and maybe they don't like proof of stake. You never know. Mm-hmm. Plus people are selling the news, so the second it happens, I don't actually agree with this, but a lot of people at our company in investments have said sell the news time, once it happens, get rid. I believe it's going up, to be honest.
Any other thoughts?
I personally think that if everything goes well and it clears the merge challenge, then the price may go up, because the trust factor will also go up. Mm-hmm. Price may fall if some bug creeps up, like it happened in the Solana network. It was going up, $150. The attack happened, and the price went down to 100 because the trust factor fell down. It's all about trust.
Okay. Who's thinking that the price will fall after the merge? 1, 2, 3. Who's thinking it's gonna go up? 1, 2, 3. Who doesn't have a clue? Okay. I'm wondering, Chris, why do you think it's gonna fall?
Well, I think it's market dependent, really, because these things are so correlated because they're paired. That's why when Bitcoin goes down, so goes everything else. And there are obviously situations like in the last several weeks, Ethereum has outperformed, certainly against Bitcoin, and because everyone's anticipating the merge. And there is the, buy the rumor, sell the news, so wouldn't be surprised to see that. But right now, the stock and the crypto markets have a huge boulder on their shoulders because of the CPI numbers that came out today. Much worse than thought. So inflation continues to accelerate, and Dow is almost down 1,000 right now as we're speaking. And Bitcoin lost, I think, 7-8% just in the last couple hours. So it doesn't matter the merge, how great the merge is. I love the merge. I think it's, you know, Ethereum can become deflationary. I think it will because you don't have to burn 13,000 Ethereum a day to pay the miners anymore. I mean, it's great. So, you know, you still have staking reward, just about 1,600 ETH a day. And the burn rate of Ethereum, interestingly, is right about that number right now, which means that Ethereum will become deflationary certainly in the next bull run, because right now, you know, gas fee, all these fees are so low because there's so much inactivity on the blockchain. So 1,600 is probably the low end of the burn rate. And as Ethereum and the markets start to heat up again, maybe sometime next year, then we'll start to see all these fees increase, and the burn rate's going to also increase. So Ethereum, I think, will at least be net neutral with the merge, and then eventually it's going to become deflationary, and that's going to do wonders for the price.
Do you think that the money that the miners are currently spending to buy the mining equipment and to pay for the electricity, this money will actually go to buy more Ethereum for staking it? So actually it's gonna increase the buy side.
Yeah, that's a good point also. That's another nice tailwind for Ethereum that I think can happen. I mean, you get the guys like Chandler Guo who want to soft fork it to save the miners. He's a miner, and he wants to make a valiant attempt so that the miners still have a shot to make their mining fees. But I think that's a losing battle, kind of like any of these forks have lost pretty badly, because Ethereum itself has the network effect, so that's going to really win out in the end. So should be fine.
And you know, if someone like Elon Musk jumps in and says he's buying a lot of Ethereum to stake them,
Might
it
happen.
has happened in the past, so it can happen again.
I think a year or two ago, Elon Musk said that we're going to start accepting Bitcoins if you want to buy a Tesla, right?
Yes.
Then a few weeks later he said, sorry, I'm not doing it because Bitcoin is really bad for the environment because all the electricity the miners are using. So maybe he says that hey, you can now buy a Tesla using Ethereum. So
Yes, and what he did with Doge.
yes.
But before we touch this point, I'm curious what you think. Like Bitcoin shouldn't stay like as a proof of work to be like counterpart to.
My thought is that so basically what they're saying about Bitcoin is that it's basically set in stone. It's not going to change. It's very conservative compared to Ethereum. But in reality, when we look around in the world, what's happening in the world, so we see lots of pressure for cryptocurrencies to become more greener. So everybody is talking about how much energy Bitcoin is consuming, more than the country of Argentina, I think. And Ethereum is using more energy than the country of Finland. So everybody is talking about that. So there's lots of pressure for cryptocurrencies to be greener. So there's been attempts by different governments to actually say that cryptocurrency must be proof of stake, so it can't be proof of work. For example, there was an attempt in the European Parliament or Commission, I don't know which one, but basically it failed, where they said that the cryptocurrency shouldn't be proof of work, meaning that that Bitcoin would be kind of outlawed, right? So just last week, I think the White House, somebody did some kind of a memo or something proposing that they will ban in US the proof of work consensus methods. So personally, what I think is that basically the pressure will increase and increase and increase, and it might happen that at one point, let's say the European Union will have a law saying that you cannot do any cryptocurrency mining, like proof of work mining in Europe. US might have a law like that. So it might be that if you think 10 years down the line that there's lots of pressure from the governments, and then maybe this pressure will kind of break the camel's back, and they will decide that hey, we will actually switch the consensus mechanism of Bitcoin to proof of stake. But if you discuss this with any Bitcoin maxi, like the people actually believing into Bitcoin, then they're saying it's never gonna happen. I'm saying I'm not 100% sure that it's never gonna happen, or maybe maybe it will happen, but there will be a fork in Bitcoin, and you will have the Bitcoin as you have now, and then you will have the new proof of stake Bitcoin. That's what I think. So the answer to the question that you guys all shared your ideas. We have no idea what will happen to the price, but there are some things that we know. So, for example, what Chris, you said there is that maybe the companies and the investment funds and so on, they won't like proof of stake. So my opinion is totally the opposite, that they will love it because it's more green. So green is in, right? So I think they will love it, and because of that, funds and VCs and so on will more go into this buying Ethereum. So the buy pressure or buy side will increase. Yeah. So also think when this possibility of staking gets into masses, then this will also increase the popularity, and in the long run it will increase the buy side or the price of Ethereum. So I also think that what we already mentioned, that if miners suddenly won't be able to mine anymore, and let's say they still want to make money, so then they will take the money that they spent on electricity and for buying the mining equipment, they will take this same money and invest it into staking. So what it means basically is that they have to go to an exchange somewhere and just buy Ethereum. And the more miners do that, the more the price will, the pressure on the upside, on the buy side will increase. Of course, we don't know if they will do it. Perhaps they will just go along with the Ethereum fork and they will keep on mining. Yeah, questions now. What happens to Ethereum miners? Our answer. Basically, they will not be able to mine Ethereum with their hardware, and this means that they have to switch to something else. So either something that already exists, like Ethereum Classic, Ravencoin, I think, is another popular one, but there's many different ones that you can switch to. Or there might be a fork happening, and then they might stay mining on this fork. So basically, if they wouldn't do anything, they would just lose their money-making source, basically. If they wouldn't do anything, from the point of the merge, they wouldn't be mining any new Ethereum, meaning they wouldn't have any income anymore, so they would just have to shut down. So they are kind of forced to do something, to choose a new blockchain to mine, or maybe sell the equipment. So I was Googling before, like what they are planning to do, and there were some guys saying that we will switch to some other blockchains. There were some guys saying that we will actually start doing something else. We will start running neural networks or something with our graphic cards and to make our money that way. So there's different options. Yeah.
How is this validation done? I mean, there has to be some hardware that you still run, right?
Yes, there has to be, but now it doesn't have to be any more specialized equipment, but basically it can be your old laptop, or they say that it can be a mobile phone, basically. So the requirement for the validator is really low, but basically if you are running a validator, so basically you're staking some money in your validator, when you're staking it, what that actually means is that you're kind of, when the validator gets offline, for example, you are fined. Basically, they will take away some of the Ethereum that you are staking. So I think you need some really low-level computer hardware, and you need a good internet connection. That's pretty much it. I don't know the exact requirements. Okay, and I think my last slide, when will it happen? So this was in the morning when I tried to calculate when does it happen. So it's Thursday early morning, but we can see on this website. So they calculate that it's going to happen in 1 day and 10 hours and 26 minutes. It's not complete, it's not a science, it can fluctuate a little bit. I think that was it. Yes, thank you. And if you have any more questions, feel free to ask now, or
Are there any questions from the audience online, perhaps?
I don't know, how can we see? Here, Q&A, yes.
Well, while you're looking for this, you said you're a miner yourself. What are you going to do?
Basically, I am keeping my mining rig with one company in Estonia. First thing was I was trying to get my mining rig back from them and sending it to another place where I have lower electricity costs. But I will keep the mining rig and I will continue mining something else, basically some other coin. And I don't care really what it's mining. I'm just choosing based on the return on investment, like whatever is the coin that makes most money.
And since NVIDIA, AMD guys are releasing their new line of graphic cards, and they don't want the second-hand market to be filled with miners' equipment, so there's like a story too big to fail. Do you think that NVIDIA guys will somehow push or somehow get involved into more mining because they are making more profits from selling more graphic cards?
I have no idea.
Coming back to miners, I'm going to ask immediately, but I'm not an expert. You mentioned if the pool of miners reach certain hash rate, they can attack certain chain. What exactly do you mean by that?
So this is called 51% attack. If you get, doesn't matter if you're talking about proof of work or proof of stake. If you get more than 51% of the total computing power of the network with the proof of work with the miners. So if you have more than 51% of the network, then you basically can do whatever you want with the network. So basically, the majority decides what is right and what's wrong, like which transactions to trust and so on. So basically, if you have more than 51% of the computing power, then you can do whatever you want. You can set the rules. So you have the majority. It's like a democratic system, right? So if whatever the 51% votes, this will be the law. So if the 51% of people vote that, I don't know, Donald Trump will be president, Donald Trump will be president. But if 51% of people will vote that Roman will be president, then Roman will be president. So basically, if you control the 51% of the total calculation power, you can decide, you can do whatever you want, basically. And it's the same with proof of stake. If you own more than 51% of the Ethereum, of the money that's staked, then you can do the same. Google 51% attack.
With proof of stake, though, they can only attack once, and then if it's a vicious attack, they would get slashed or soft forked away, kind of like with the Ethereum Classic, the DAO. But proof of work, you can keep attacking. You'd have to redo all the hardware configuration, which you've read multiple times.
I'm gonna read a question from the Zoom. So they were asking if there is an attack, let's say the 51% of attack, how exactly can you change the transactions, halt and reverse them? So basically one of the things with the blockchain is that you shouldn't be able to, you can't reverse the transactions, you can't change them, but there's actually been cases, even with Ethereum, where they have done something where they reversed some of the transactions. So the idea of blockchain is that it's read-only, you can't change them, but the reality is that if you are the person controlling more than 51%, you can do stuff. Yeah. Second question, what is your opinion on the market price of Ethereum 2.0? What are your opinions on the gas fees? What are your opinions on the upcoming drastic reduction in miner rewards? So I think we pretty much covered these things. What would happen with my Ethereum if I hold it in LHV? That's a very specific question. Nothing will happen to it. So Ethereum, LHV is not keeping your Ethereum, so they have a deal with a company called Bitstamp, I think, who is in charge of your Ethereum. So basically, nothing changes for you. Don't worry. And that's it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll give these to you.
Thank you for Roman, and yeah, please join. So we're on, yeah?
Yes.
We're online right now,
Yes.
that's cool. You didn't see what we did before, but now we are here to show you what we have here. 3 amazingly smart guys with me sitting here. I'm honored. So welcome to the discussion panel. The merge of Ethereum is still happening, yeah? Or hasn't happened yet, let's say, yeah? Sorry. And we want to know more. So I hope you all have prepared your questions and sandwiches and whatever you need to be with us the next 30 minutes at least. Let me introduce you once again. Roman is here with us, KRÜPTO KLUBI. Yeah, Roman German. Then Chris Kacher, or Doctor. He likes that more, I know.
No, whatever you like is fine with me.
Okay, I like Doctor. Yeah, this is like you have like done something.
I really don't care personally. Whatever is good for you is good for me.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna read because you're connected co-founder of Virtue of Selfish Investing, yeah, selfishinvesting.com, and 3 Quantum Technologies, Hansa Digital Assets, access.com, right?
Right.
And on the right side there is Javier, who is actually, I really have to say that he comes from Spain, but he fluently speaks Estonian. I have to mention it every time. Because it's something amazing, and it has happened within how many years? 5 years, and fluent Estonian, no accent. So, but sorry.
Good job.
Yeah, it's like really cool thing. And he is a blockchain developer, representing like feedback token, INO, and I'm Astra, again from Crypto Association. So I will try to ask some like short questions, and then let's see how it goes. And if you want to add anything about yourself more, then feel free to do it during this discussion, right? Yeah. So let's try to make it like a sharp half an hour or something. Okay, so we almost touched all the topics in the discussion, but we didn't touch the one big topic. If we take Estonia, for example, or if we take Europe, how crypto companies can benefit from current situation. Maybe, Roman, you want to begin with that?
Not really.
Okay,
but
who takes that?
I can try.
Okay.
So how can companies benefit of the from the merge?
Yeah. And crypto companies especially, not the mainstream ones. Yeah.
I think there's like short-term benefit and long-term benefit. So if you were a crypto company and you wanted to benefit short-term, maybe it's already too late. It's like not enough time, but probably you could have done something to receive this benefit from. Maybe you would have made a when merged countdown clock, or you create some kind of a service. But I think long-term, how everybody can benefit, it doesn't matter if you're an Estonian company, European company, around the world, is that I hope that it will bring more trust into the cryptocurrency world, because of the added investment, or like big companies going into Ethereum. So personally, I think that because proof of stake is more green, it will allow different investment funds, companies, venture capitalists to go and buy Ethereum, invest into projects that are using Ethereum, and this will make it more kind of mainstream. And as a side effect, it will normalize cryptocurrencies, and it will bring crypto closer to everybody. That's what I believe. But you know, how you can directly benefit from the merge and proof of stake, just start staking the money. But that's everything I got. Maybe these guys have something better.
Ethereum, it's a great step forward, and it's going to open the gateway to sharding. So Ethereum may, at some point, maybe end of next year, maybe the year after, be able to, on its own, have millions of transactions per second as a consequence of that sharding. Therefore, a lot of these layer 1 competitors, Solana, whatnot, they have much higher TPS right now, but they don't have the network effect. And if the 90s are any lesson for us all, TCP/IP was absolutely inferior to all the competing technologies at the time, but the one thing it wasn't inferior in was the network effect. That's why it became the backbone of the internet. And I think that Ethereum stands a great chance at doing the same thing because of its towering network effect. I think the only threat, to me, the only real threat to Ethereum is not the Solanas of the world and all these other companies, which I think we'll see them fall eventually. It'll take some time, but I think Ethereum has won out over them, where it potentially has a threat, and I put the odds here pretty low, so don't get too ruffled by what I'm going to say. But I think that because Bitcoin has a lot of development going on, not as much as Ethereum, but they are doing Lightning, Liquid, Taproot, all these side chains, and they potentially could do what Ethereum does. But I put the odds pretty low. I put the odds maybe we're talking 10%. And if that does happen, well, Bitcoin has the towering hash rate, the towering network effect, and companies would then port over or build on Bitcoin, and it would then overtake Ethereum, and you have Bitcoin and then all these other companies that build on it. I think much more likely, I put the odds again more like 90% of 9 out of 10 chance here that we're going to see Bitcoin with its proof of work coexist with Ethereum and with its proof of stake, and all the companies will be building on Ethereum in the years to come. I know Solana's got the NFT market, or they're accelerating past Ethereum and all this stuff, but that's really kind of a sidebar. I think ultimately we will see Ethereum overtake, especially given they've had their delays, but they do have the towering network effect against all these other competitors.
Sorry, I have a clarifying question too. What do you think once the Ethereum blockchain reaches the thousands of transactions per second that you were saying, what do you think will happen to all the Ethereum layer 2 blockchains?
Great question. Okay, so there's a third scenario, and that is, will Ethereum actually be able to conduct millions of TPS with sharding, or do we not have to even go that far because we have companies like Polygon that are already doing it for Ethereum? And I think it's also likely that Polygon could coexist with Ethereum. And that's why, by the way, in this crypto bear, Polygon has probably been one of the best performing assets. If you had to be long this market at all, that was the coin to be long. And then there's some other technologies that compete with Polygon that are also potentials as well. And they are actually, I think, one of the OP is another one that is also doing fairly well.
Optimism, meaning?
Yes, in terms of its performance, because these are viable technologies. Which one wins out, who knows? But they're both competitive.
Yeah, I go for those odds. Like, I don't really think Bitcoin, let's say side chains or layer 2 or whatever, are going to thrive. It's more like the mainstream idea that Bitcoin is the digital gold, so it's gonna stay there as a very conservative digital asset. But it's more that we are going to see thrive L2s and roll-up networks more than. And also Polygon is kind of a side chain, not really an L2. It's kind of a mix of L1 and L2. Like it has a lot of features that are like those of layer 1, but at the same time it's a side chain of Ethereum. So yeah, probably even, well, hopefully the merge will be very successful. But maybe some small EVMs will die, most probably those with the small market caps. But the big ones that have something to offer, like Polygon, has a lot of side products that are really valuable in terms of verification, in terms of zero knowledge proofs, in terms of rollups. And the same goes for Arbitrum and Optimism and these kind of faster ones. I see more Polygon as something that has extra values to offer more than as a layer 2, as a kind of mix between layer 2 and layer 1. But then, and also, like, if we talk about how crypto companies can benefit, like, if we talk about VASP, like virtual asset service providers, well, they might have the PR stand of like being green and this kind of stuff, but they also have a lot of threats, like what's going to happen with the airdropped tokens of the Ethereum proof of work. That's I think that's rather going to be a problem for the exchanges rather than a benefit. And but also there are some other crypto companies that might benefit of staying in Ethereum and Ethereum being more scalable, and then they might be able to come back to Ethereum after they switch to other EVMs because of the gas fees and because of the speed. So we might see a lot of projects going back to Ethereum after the merge, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Amazing discussion, because you kind of answered all my 5 questions I had in the beginning. So let's begin with the next ones.
Sorry, can we ask the public? Do you guys think the answer to her question, like any ideas how you could, as a crypto company, benefit from the
Thanks,
merge?
Roman. Yeah, very good question. What
Maybe somebody has a good idea. Or maybe not, sorry.
Well, definitely the biggest thing is the marketing, how to market yourself. Because right now, what's the issue in mainstream is that, I mean, the people on the street, they think it's consuming so much energy, I don't want to be part of that. It's like something really bad to do to the environment. So right now can we actually begin talking about eco-friendly blockchain?
The Economist already did. They actually wrote an article about the merge, saying that Ethereum was consuming more than the whole country of Chile, which is quite big. And after the merge, they are not going to consume that. I mean, reducing 99% is mostly saying they are not going to consume that. So it's already having at least that positive stand in front of the mainstream, let's say.
Okay.
It's still a drop in the bucket, though, compared to legacy systems, and that's where mainstream media never reports. They underreport it because they're controlled media, and that's why they're MSM, and they produce a lot of FUD. So, I mean, there's all these tables. I've published a lot of this stuff on selfishinvesting.com. You can just go and you can Google Bitcoin energy, and you can pull up all the articles. And it's not just me. It's a lot of contributors with lots of links, including, you know, people like Willy Woo, Vitalik Buterin. I mean, just, you know, notable people in the space that are defending the whole energy outlook of crypto. I mean, one interesting table shows that gold mining, for instance, the energy cost annually is $105 billion. The recycling of gold is $40 billion. Now compare that to Bitcoin mining, $4.5 billion. So, you know, we're talking a fraction. All these other legacy systems also. I mean, paper currency, minting, that takes $28 billion. The banking system is $1.8 trillion. And DeFi is going to do a good job disrupting, debanking, dissociating, all of that. That's why it's quite inevitable, because DeFi is so economic.
I think the problem with Bitcoin and Ethereum, like the blockchain and mining, is basically how transparent it is. So the problem is that it's super simple to calculate like how much electricity or energy you need to mine Ethereum or to mine Bitcoin. So it's very simple. If you're a journalist, Google something, okay, there's a report, that's how many, that's the mining difficulty, that's how many machines you need to get this mining difficulty, that's probably how much energy you need. But to calculate how much banking system requires energy, yes, there's like people who have done it, but it's super complex compared to understand how much blockchain might require energy. So let's say you take Swedbank or whatever bank we have in Estonia. So, okay, calculate how many buildings they have, how many computers they have there, how many lights they have. Then calculate, I don't know, how many servers they have, calculate how many coffee machines they have, how many, like, it goes crazy. So you can't really understand easily.
It's also hard to compare, because when you talk about Bitcoin mining, you can really calculate what the rigs are consuming. But with banks, it's like what part really goes to the financial part. Let's say power consuming. It's like the comparison is like not so easy to make.
Yeah, one transfer
Exactly.
is not done by one company only. So this is also we
Yes.
don't see it, but
If you accept
different-
cash, you have to take into account who gets the cash from the shop to the bank. So, example, probably you hire a company to do that. Then what does the bank do with the cash? So it's
But it's still missing the bigger picture that there's orders of magnitude difference between what crypto costs versus legacy systems. And legacy systems are dinosaurs for the most part, not all of them, but some of them are, and they're going to go bye-bye. That's inevitable, and governments don't like that. They're losing control over their fiat through Bitcoin. They're losing control, a lot of control actually, because of the crypto revolution that's taking place. And Jason Lowery, he's at MIT, and he is now has a direct line to the top officials in the U.S. government to talk about why proof of work is so essential. So in other words, a lot of people in crypto are educating the lawmakers in the U.S. so they don't make bad moves. And earlier this year, there was some concern because there was some really horrible legislation that was going to be passed. Unfortunately, crypto rose up and everything was postponed, and the lawmakers are being educated. So I call that a small win. A small win of the battle, and I think we'll win the war in the US. The question is, will this happen here, say in Estonia, in the EU? I know proof of work is just looked down upon. There's so much of this FUD against it, and Jason Lowery has maintained, this is an original thought from him, which is, I believe, a correct thought, and that is that Bitcoin is the greatest defense mechanism ever in the history of humanity. Why? Because more value is accruing to the digital world than the physical. Physical is growing as, it's a very slow grower, naturally, but digital is exponential growth, the valuation of digital. Crypto right now is at 1 trillion, but where was it 5-6 years ago? It was in just, 10 billion. So it's jumped orders of magnitude in just a few years. And mark my words, 1 trillion today is going to be 10, 50, eventually 100 trillion over the coming years. I don't think, I would think that 10 trillion crypto, that's a tenfold gain from today. We'll achieve that in the next bull run. And that bull run is going to probably come within the next 2-3 years, is my guess, based on the cycles of crypto. So Jason has made the astounding, astute observation that because Bitcoin is proof of work and because of its hash rate, it is such a great protector of sovereign wealth, and therefore it diminishes the odds of war, hot war, classic war. Wars are fought over money, economics. And if every country has, let's go 10 years in advance. Let's say now so many countries have a majority of their wealth sitting in Bitcoin. Well, you can't attack Bitcoin with bombs. It doesn't work. But there's still going to be structures. There's still going to be smaller wars, of course. But major global warfare, I think it just gets pushed further. There's less incentive to attack a country where you're not going to get much out of it. When there's a massive shift into the metaverse. I have a column on City AM, and it's all about what the metaverse is and what's going to be. And I mean, metaverse is just short for digital communication between people. I mean, it's been around since the 60s. Well, since there were modems. But I think that with the PC revolution in the 80s, that was a big catalyst to accelerate the earliest stages of the metaverse. And then, of course, the internet in the early 90s, that when it became commercial, that was a huge way forward that direction. And then with blockchain, we have Web3. So Web3 now is going to become, it's going to allow each person to own their own data, to control their data. We won't have centralized systems like Twitter, Facebook. Well, I should say only, they'll still be around, but all these major centralized systems no longer will be the only choice with Web3.
Okay, a question. So how can we support the world to develop in a better means, more secure way? What we can do to talk about the eco-friendly part, talk about the safe part. What else we can talk about to push it really heavily to move towards a bit more decentralization?
Make it easier to onboard. The problem right now why it's not mainstream is because by now you want to be involved in crypto, in Web3, you need to know about it. while if you want to get involved with Web2 technologies, say Facebook, whatever Google services, you don't need to know anything. So that's a huge gap between not knowing anything, knowing a lot about some computer science stuff. And as long as we have this barrier, we are not going to see it going mainstream, because not everybody has the resources to go to DeFi. DeFi can be something calling people that knows a bit about finance or that is like tech savvy, but you need other stuff to get like the next billion people.
Yeah, mass adoption is always achieved through apps like AOL back in the early 90s. They made the internet friendly for millions of people in the US. And then you also have Netscape. And then right now as we speak, there's going to be a lot of development to make it economic for the masses, because when it's an economic win, it gets built. And so Web3 will become, eventually it'll become much more user friendly. Now it's so early. But I can see, in the coming years, there's going to be a lot of platforms developed so that it is quite simple process for whatever you need to do on Web3.
Okay, and if we take this line of progress, and right now we are there where the Ethereum merge is, and we are thinking in such a way that, well, the progress is anyway there, everybody's getting into Web3, mainstream wants to know more about it, they want to invest into their company's tokenization, all these things are already happening in a fast move, we can say. The NFT is a trend right now, DAO is a trend right now. So what do you think, what importance the Ethereum merge right now has in this progress, which is anyway happening? Does it make it like more and more simple, or?
I want to, first I will start by answering to your previous question. So what I think is, I agree with Javier that we should make onboarding simpler, but I also think that actually crypto is already, from the end user's perspective, it's actually really simple to use. It's in many cases it's already more simple than using your traditional bank account and payments. So what I really like is the educational part. So what we can do, for example, what we are doing, or what we did in YOLO, where I used to work, is that every new person that joins the company, we actually make them use crypto. So the way we did it, or the way YOLO is doing it at the moment, is we give them some actual cryptocurrency, we send them some Ethereum, we send them some Bitcoins, we send them some USDT or USDC, but basically to give them, to force them to have this experience and to understand that it's actually super simple. So there's lots of people who are so scared of it, so it feels like something I don't know, nuclear fusion or something, like it feels difficult, but once you use it, you actually see that sending money from your crypto wallet to your friends, it's actually more simple than making a regular bank transfer. So I think we can make the onboarding easier, but we should also educate people, make them use what we already have now. And then a combination of these two, I think, basically getting people to use them, and these people will have the new ideas, like how we can make it even more simpler, what should be built on top of it, like how to change this or that. So I think that's the key, and I see it's already happening as well.
Yeah, so forcing, not just educating, but forcing heavily.
Pushing gently.
Yeah, it's pushing, but it's not like forcing, but you give them some incentive,
Yeah.
You get like 20 euros if you do that. Okay, I'm okay with 20 euros. Airdrops, yeah. So.
That's the word.
Yeah, actually one thing I want to mention here, why, let's say, regards to events, for example, it's very easy to push people to use crypto more, is if you give them NFT of taking part of the event, yeah, they can collect these. And what will happen right now, what's happening in LinkedIn, for example, how much information you have under your profile, how much of that is truth, and how much you can approve, like where have you been speaking, or who are you actually, or where are you working, or like this kind of thing is maybe something. Maybe? What do you think about that?
There's a lot of potential there, but if we are talking about making a better society by giving decentralization, giving ownership of your data, that also has a risk, because when we talk about ownership, we talk about owning your private keys, let's say, in like simpler terms, and that also carries a risk because you have the risk of being hacked. Even if you're in a centralized exchange or you own your private keys, you always like, let's say if the bank gets hacked, they at least have the responsibility to pay you back. But if you are holding your crypto and you get hacked, nobody is going to back you up. So
But there are still companies
There are
they
still-
call crypto.
there are solutions, but that they are not usable enough, or at least not that I'm aware of.
Mhm.
And that's what we need to go for the next step. So apart from education, we need tools that the normal people can't rely on, because maybe someone with enough, let's say, financial independence can take the risk of I hold my own keys. If I lose it, of course, it's a lose. It's not. I'm not going to be happy about it, but I can lose it.
Yeah.
But if we talk about mainstream, there's a lot of people that cannot afford losing their bank account, let's say, or their private keys or their money. So that's something to consider. Like right now, most people interacting with DeFi are not like the average person. It's people with a bit more of financial independence. So there's still, like, I would say, a social barrier.
Right now, if you live in Estonia and you keep money in the bank, so if somebody goes and steals the money from the bank, you still get your money back, right? Because you have government guarantees, you get at least 100,000 euros is backed. But basically what you're saying is if I keep my money in a Bitcoin exchange or crypto exchange, it gets stolen, I won't get it back. So
No, in a crypto exchange, if they are regulated, like that's what most regulations are going forward to.
we have insurance.
But if you have your custodial wallet, like you own your private keys, let's say MetaMask, or you have your Ledger, or you have whatever other hardware wallet, if you lose that, nobody can help you. It's not that nobody wants, it's like nobody really can help you. And there are cases of people that had a lot of Bitcoins, they forgot their password, they lost it. And it sounds dumb, but it's how it is. And well, that's also another responsibility.
Yeah, I think education goes a long way here. You first have to understand, is your money in a custodial wallet or a non-custodial wallet? So if it's in a custodial wallet, meaning somebody else is keeping your private keys, then probably if it's a regulated exchange or it's a well-known company, so your money is probably insured. So if somebody hacks them, they might actually lose your cryptocurrencies, but the insurance company will pay back whatever what was lost. But if it's a non-custodial wallet, then yeah, it's exactly as you said, and it's important to understand the distinction.
I think these will coexist, centralized and decentralized, because some people will want the security of being on a centralized system. They don't want to have to memorize a seed phrase and keep track of their keys and all of that. And I think this applies to maybe, parents, relatives, older, they just don't want to deal with it. So the centralized system is safe, especially something that is certified, that is gold standard. Again, we're still pretty early here, and there will be these systems where you can say, store safely your NFT badges. Like, you don't want to have them on your person because, what if there is something that could go wrong and you could lose all your credentials? You don't want that. So storing them on a very safe centralized system in the future probably makes sense. And, right now, as far as the trading aspect, I think that, when you're on an exchange, they can freeze your assets. It's not your keys, not your coins. That's a whole different dynamic. So, as far as trading, I do think still there's places, Bitstamp's been around. I think it's one of the oldest exchanges. It's very reliable. I figure it'll continue onwards and upwards. Some of these other ones as well. So these days, in the last few years, hack attacks on major exchanges, if they have occurred, everyone was made whole. Everyone was refunded their money in every case. So again, these systems are becoming much more gold standard and safe against that unfortunate incident.
Okay, and coming back to the question, how much importance in crypto history the Ethereum merge has. I mean, Roman touched that topic a bit, but still I want to come back because the growth of Web3 and companies coming into this and what is happening right now. So does it give like a huge lift, or it's just part of many small bits right now? What is happening?
Well, with Ethereum, this is a major historical moment for crypto. And ultimately, it just raises public awareness. It further solidifies crypto's place in the whole economic system. Again, the valuation of the space right now is $1 trillion. I think it's going to go. I think things are going to get worse before they get better because we just had a horrible inflation print today, and Dow's off about 1,000 last I looked. Bitcoin lost several percent in about an hour, and I think that, you know, just because let's say Bitcoin retests, or not retests, but goes down to say 10, 11,000. It's done this before. I mean, it's corrected 84, 87%, 94% twice in its history. This is just the nature of crypto. The stock market itself, with the situation, the macro situation is about as bad as it gets if you look back, you know, 75 years of history. So I wouldn't be surprised to see, you know, the S&P and the NASDAQ easily lose half their value, which is quite a ways down from where they're at right now. And that is if the Fed chair sticks to his guns and keeps hiking rates. He has said he doesn't care what markets do, but he does, because he still is a politician in the end, and he has a lot of friends, high places in Washington. They hold a lot of assets in stocks and real estate and whatnot, precious metals. So he doesn't want to see the whole market collapse like we saw in the 1930s. I don't think we're going to replay that. I think ultimately he's going to step in. Remember what he did for COVID, and remember what he did in 2008 after the collapse. He stepped in and he started printing money, and ultimately the M2, which is the money supply, you go back decades, this thing never really materially drops. It always keeps churning, and COVID accelerated it. Now we're coming off the peak, and that's what's making markets upset. And I think we're going to continue to come off that peak for a little bit longer because inflation is pretty onerous. It's double digit. The real inflation rate in the US is double digit. If you take the CPI measured, if you use the metrics used in 1980, before they started pulling out the stuff that was going up in price too much, that's what they do with the CPI basket, then you'll see that the real rate of inflation right now is about 17, 18%, not this 7, 8% nonsense. And around the world, I think a lot of governments manipulate their data in the same way. So, you know, we're seeing solid double-digit inflation worldwide, and that's why fiat is sinking even faster now. And that's why ultimately Bitcoin is going to reach, and I said this in 2017, it is going to reach 1 million. I think in the next, who knows, next decade, easily. It has to.
I agree with you 100%. By 2030, it's going to be at least 1 million.
Yeah.
Okay, we should
Digital
paint
gold.
on red on that wall, maybe. Yeah, and come back
When we
here.
hit the mark.
I have a
Yeah.
question for you guys. What do you think will happen if the Ethereum merge, let's say it's going to fail? I don't know how, but I don't know, you can't make any transactions for a week, or I don't know, the prices will
That's
drop to
yeah.
100, or like what's going to happen then?
It'll still get made. It'll just be delayed once again.
Well, actually, is it possible that these guys who are the main developers, let's say somebody just wants to, you know, because of they're making too big change, might it like be
What-
even
what is
possible that
What do you
somebody
mean by
is interested that really not to happen? Who
Well,
wins?
there are definitely parties interested in the happen in the merge failing, but I really think it's gonna succeed. But even in the
Mm,
case
yeah.
that it fails, it has to fail really badly. But
There's replacements, people that will replace. If someone, I don't know what you meant by that, but
yeah,
if someone
it was
got
like a very,
like
very
assassinated or
bitter
something,
joke. Yeah,
there's
like
so
very
many
bitter.
replacements. I mean, there's so many people that are super smart minds that are going to contribute to its build out, and so if it failed, I think that it would be such a temporary point of failure.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of developers working behind that, and if they have delayed it so much, I guess it's because they have been working a lot on it, and there's a lot of smart people there. So it's not.
So you're saying even if it fails, it can't actually fail. It's just
Right.
gonna postpone it a little bit.
I mean, if it really fails, then it's gonna be a super crash for all the crypto, because it's kind of the standard. It's the second biggest blockchain, and almost going to be the first. So if it fails, it's a market crash for all crypto, but crazy. Like, it's probably gonna be, I don't know, an economic crisis, but it would be like really bad, I guess. But it has to be like a big fail. If it's something like the missing block rate, like it happened with the Bellatrix update, that's nothing. That's not a fail. That's something that like we will need people getting used to the merge, let's say. But and probably we are gonna see a lot of hacks. Like a lot of people scam with NFTs, with things happening in the fork, because the fork is most probably gonna happen. Like it will go, everything will go down, but that's my guess. I'm not sure about that, but it's very probable that we will see a lot of scams profiting from the fork, let's say.
If I would be a Ethereum miner, like a big scale miner, then it would be basically stupid not to fork Bitcoin, because
I would rather change to Ethereum Classic, because Ethereum Classic made sense at its time. Now you have a lot of things that you didn't have at that time. You have stablecoins, you have a lot of DeFi protocols that didn't exist when the first fork happened. So there are a lot of things that will stay in the proof of stake chain that will not work. They will not work in the proof of work fork, and that's why the fork, it doesn't make as much sense as it did when the DAO problem happened. So if I were a miner, I would rather switch my mining either to Ethereum Classic if I see that it's still profitable, or if that's not profitable, do what some companies have done of offering, let's say, AI services or machine learning services or computing like services, let's say, because that's the only alternative you have. Because I don't think you're gonna find such a big secondary market for all those EPUs, and unless you're very big, switching to Bitcoin is like a big step. So yeah.
Okay, there is one, not like a question, but a mark from Zoom. Seeing the electricity price, many project owners will definitely move their project from proof of work to proof of stake. What do you think about that?
So basically, whatever blockchain your project is using, let's say if you were using Ethereum before, you basically don't care about what the consensus mechanism is. It's just an added benefit to you that Ethereum changed to proof of stake, and you could say that, okay, now my project is more green as well. But I think if you're already operating on top of some blockchain, you don't really control this and you don't really care, you just take the benefit. But if you're building some kind of your own project and you have your own blockchain, then most likely you are already on proof of stake, not on proof of work. That's what I think.
Okay, do we have also questions from the hall? Yes, please.
Yeah, my question is, so let's say there will be a fork, and because this fork, if it happens and some exchanges, let's say, support it, then it means that not only you'll have some kind of like alternative Ethereum tokens, but also like the system state will be the same. So it means that if you were, let's say, like a liquidity provider on Uniswap, you will still be that liquidity provider on this forked version. So do you think these other tokens may also have some value? Let's say you had some stable coins. So does it mean you'll have stable coins on two chains now if the fork happens?
We'll see, because if you take, there are some exchanges that have already listed, it's called ETH, like Ethereum proof of work, and the value of it is right now, I checked this morning, it was like $22 or $33, depending on which exchange you check. So if the native token is that low, all the DeFi protocol tokens, those are going to be like cents if they get listed, which I don't think, because listing, like let's say double listing all those tokens is a huge work for any exchange, and many of those DeFi protocols rely on stable coins, and stable coins will lose all their value on the fork, because they have said that they will not support the fork, the main stable coins. So that means that your stable coin in the fork doesn't have any value.
But let's say if I have like something like DAI or something like that, that's not like
DAI is different because it's an algorithmic stable coin, so that might have a bit of value, but we will see. I don't know.
Yeah, because I mean it should have some value, because like for example, if there's like a Uniswap pair, right? The price is actually, you can derive the price from the ratio, right, between the tokens, so it should have some value.
Yeah, but we'll see, because those protocols, they work as a whole, and there is a bunch of developers working behind that. If you think that they are gonna support both chains, that's extra work added, and they have to check what are the values of the tokens, like that are as collateral, the tokens that are supported, if you have to delist some tokens that are not supported anymore, that's a lot of extra work. And I think those protocols, well, maybe not, they might crash before you can like update or change that.
Several of these services, or however you call it, they have already said that they will not support this if a fork happens.
Most of them.
Okay, we have almost finished, so let's take the last question from who wants to do?
I want to specifically ask Dr. Chris. Since you mentioned that we are stables are following Bitcoin and Bitcoin is following S&P, why is that? Because crypto was an answer to S&P, kind of that area, which are two different cups. Why do you think?
Wait, stable's not following. Stable's fine. Stable's fine, but the altcoins are heavily correlated. That's why when you look at bear markets like 2014 and 2018 and this year, everything drops. There's no outlier to that. There are ones that resist the drop and they fall less, but everything is still highly correlated because of the pairing, the way these coins interact within each other in the ecosystem. And as far as, was your question why the US market is, or why stock markets are correlated?
Why Bitcoin is following the S&P?
Yes, right now more than ever because of the macro environment. So in other words, the direction of interest rates is heavily correlated to the direction of stock markets globally and the whole crypto market. And that's because these are risk-on assets, and so when there's tightening of the money supply that's going on right now, then there's less money to go around, and the first money that gets pulled is from the highest risk assets, which is crypto. That's why crypto has fallen the most. And then the next probably is stocks. High risk stocks would be like NASDAQ, tech stocks. So NASDAQ has fallen more than the S&P 500, which has fallen more than the Dow Jones Industrial Averages, because the Dow is 30 companies, they're as blue chip as they come. They're a lot slower in bull markets, but they lose less in bear markets. But everything still correlates. So if you look like even on a 5-minute bar chart, if you really want to see it in action, you can actually see all these markets are just shifting likewise. It's just a matter of magnitude on how far they fall or rise. And because now I don't know if people follow CME Fed futures, but they're a great predictor of the future direction of rate hikes. So you can just Google CME Fed futures and you'll pull up the site. And basically it shows at the meeting the next meeting later this month, the odds now of a 75 basis point hike have shifted all the way out to I think something like 80%. But more interestingly, now the market is betting that the balance of that 20% odds that they're going to hike by 100 basis points later this month because of these really bad inflation numbers. And out to the rest of the year, the original prediction was that we would end the year at 375 to 400 basis points. Now that's shifted to 400 to 425. So really bad times for markets. We've been saying all year, we being, I have an investment partner in California, so we run selfishinvesting.com, and you can look at all the timestamp reports. And as early as last November, we were saying there's going to be headwinds because Powell had shifted his stance, taking the word transitory out of his language. And that to me was the first hawkish move he's made in a long time. And then of course that got worse and worse in ensuing weeks. So then we advised everyone to shift to cash or go short in December. January, February, of course, these were horrible months, and you got all these talking heads on CNBC and Fox News and of course YouTube with their millions of followers, and they are all trying to pick the bottoms in December and January, and just you want to facepalm yourself because look where the market is now. But it's interesting to see, that's not to say that's all bad. Some of these guys have something good to say, but they're not good market timers, that's for sure, because every single one of them, and one of them a personal friend of mine, that they just got clobbered. They've gotten clobbered in this market, but it's kind of a replay of 2018, where all those millions made in 2017 were given back into the market. And so like this go around, it's 2020 to 2021, the millions made are now being given back. And I think that the market doesn't find a low until Bitcoin is seen at least 85% off its peak. That puts it around $11,000. If Powell really wants to keep hammering, because we're in a much worse macro environment today than we were in 2018, I've called as low as 5,000 of Bitcoin. It's possible. You know, that what would be a 94% correction be in Bitcoin from 69,000 peak? 94%. So you know that would basically be what, 3,900 on Bitcoin, and that would replay history because Bitcoin has corrected that much twice before. It corrected that much early on. It was very new. It was young, so it had other problems going on, not politics and not macro at all, that causes steep corrections. But this time around, it's within the realm of possibility because the macro environment has never been so deleterious. Again, if you go, everyone should read Ray Dalio's work. He's studied market cycles going back hundreds of years, and he's seen how bad the situation is today, and it is replaying a lot of these other long-term debt cycles. We're at like the 11th hour, basically, and he's posed the question, what next? Because what has happened in the past is war and revolution, inevitably. But this time, I've countered with, well, this time we have exponential growth in AI, in blockchain. People are still building. It doesn't matter where the price of Bitcoin goes. There's so much development taking place in blockchain. It's great to see you know, Web3. No one's asleep. Everyone's just hammering away. So I think that we're going to see, you know, the evolution is going to come no matter what happens to the markets and no matter what the Fed chair does. But, you know, ultimately, I don't think he's going to drive the markets into the ground. It would be out of character. So I think maybe we see Bitcoin hit 10,000, the S&P is 50% off its peak, and that's when Powell pulls a December 24th, that 2018, that was the first Christmas crash on record when he was tightening the balance sheets, and he went on emergency meeting and he told everybody, he said, we're going to listen to the markets, we're not going to tighten anymore, we're going to see what the markets want. And that was the major bottom. In the stock market, that was the ultimate low, and in the crypto market, that was roughly the low as well. So that was a major buy point, if I've ever seen a buy signal in my life.
Thank you. Did he answer your question?
Very fun question.
Thank you so much. Okay, we have to now collect ourselves, and I really want to thank you all. So I will give you here a piece of real words, not on blockchain. Roman, thank you so much. A bit of magnesium.
Thank you.
Is here. Thank you for coming. This is for you. Time to smile. Yeah, it doesn't mean that we are not smiling enough. And here there is like a bit of ferrum. Yeah. And also, I would like to. There is actually two gifts more there. And I would like to thank you, Vitali, our board member from Crypto Association, because he's been here helping me out yesterday, today, preparing all of what you see on the tech side. And it is amazing to collaborate with you. Thank you, Vitali. You can maybe show your face to the camera as well, like a quick one. Like he's coming from here, and he looks like this. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. And one person more I want to thank, who is not on stage right now, but I want to call her name Silvia, Crypto Empress. She's soon will not be with us because of a big reason. So, but keep having fun. Yeah.
It's gonna be
so thank you so much for your help. And so thank you all in online, and thank you for having us here. Thank you for coming. So I'm happy that we had this discussion. I think the most important conclusion what we can do is that the Ethereum merge helps us all to make more money in crypto industry. Yeah. Thank you. See you next time.
Well said.